23s.
And how big's the check going home with you?
Don't know yet.
They did break the course record though. That was good
so
for the
what happened
pacemakers.
behind you when you ran 16:40? Like just
Well, what about
disintegrated the pack?
this first? What's your opinion on like announcing to the pace group that you're going to pull out? And it's been a pleasure to run with you ladies and go like give a motivational speech. Like,
Just
what do you
me
reckon?
time.
Bit of me time.
Big time.
At the 29.5k mark.
He,
This guy.
he doesn't train all year for this one day.
He's doing
just
a
to
TED
step
talk.
off the course.
Okay. On the flip side, I gave those girls notice that I was finishing at 30k, and then Brady said nothing. Brady just stopped, and the girls just went.
I couldn't breathe.
So I actually think it's the courteous thing to do for them to then prepare that there's not going to be a pacemaker anymore, and for them that the race now starts, as opposed to just cold turkey, you're on your own now.
So the course record did get broken, Moose, by the Japanese runner Yuki. Ran a like 6 minute PB too. Never been under 2 hours 30 before. Runs 2:24. She ran like a 25-second positive split. So that's pretty impressive today, I thought, as well. She was always snapping at her heels. But every single other person in that group like went backwards because of what Croaks did from 20 to 25k. So we got the course record out of it, and then we ruined about 20 to 25 people's day.
They were those girls were very strong though. Like it didn't matter what pace we were running at.
Yeah,
they were like still clipping me.
Yeah, only just broke them at the end too, didn't you?
Yeah. So. I actually wore a heart rate strap today. Changed the batteries this morning,
Some
and
good data too
might
from
send the
you.
data off to you, mate. Dan Osborne
Send
Nash,
it off tonight. Yeah, we'll do that.
or your coach.
I'm going to whistle through this week because we're going.
And that was longer than his 2:17 recap.
Yeah, I don't need to recap Sunday, so I'm going Monday through to Saturday. Monday, I ran 75 minutes in the morning at 4:46 pace, and then 8k in the afternoon at 4:51s. On Tuesday, I did Moose Fartlek. I like this I was feeling a bit tired and maybe a bit sick as well. My daughter Olivia's been a bit sick lately, so I thought it's a good workout to do to work on effort levels. Never looked at pace. For people that don't know what that is, it's 3 minutes, like steady-ish, probably between 10k and 15k maybe effort. You're the boss of it.
I like about that,
Yeah.
10 to 15.
And then 1 minute jog, and then 1 minute hard, 1 minute jog. So each set is 6 minutes. Do that 5 times for 30 minutes. I decided not to run my afternoon run just because I'm like, I just want to get over this sickness. Wednesday, I did 90 minutes at 4:35 pace, but I had an interesting experience on this run. I was out the back blocks of like Moama, dirt roads, never seen a car on this road in my life, and probably ran it 200 times. And this massive truck's coming from behind me, and I'm like, oh, here we go, this is going to be interesting. And he slows right down, and then like he's elevated in his like engine, and like rough character, like trucky, neck tattoo, big beard. And he slows down, engine's roaring in my ears. I'm pulling out my headphones because he's trying to talk to me. And his question was, where are you from? And I'm like, okay, not the most like welcoming question. And I'm like, sorry? And he goes, where are you from? I said, oh, Moama, the town we're actually in, like right now as I'm running, like my house is 7k away. And then he goes, oh, you're staying at the caravan parks? And I'm like, no, I'll live here, like in Moama. And at this, like I can't really hear him that well, and it's like a broken conversation. And then he goes, well, whereabouts in Moama do you live? And I'm just like, shit, this could be it for me. I'm like, spoiler alert, it's not, I'm here now. And like, I'm head to toe lululemon kid. This guy's like head to toe trucky appearance. I'm like, this is two worlds like colliding. 10k out of Moama on a dirt road where I'm starting to worry about my life. And then I said, I live near the petrol station. And there's 3 petrol stations in Moama for people playing at home, so I didn't really want to give away my exact address. And then he still wasn't satisfied with it, and he's still trying to have this conversation. And it's at that stage where I'm like, I can't run off because you're in a truck. So I said, all right, see you later. And he looked at me and he's like, is that it? And then drove off very slowly, weirdly. And I'm like, please do not put your brake lights on and come back and get me. Very odd experience. And I then thought, shit, at least that's going to make a good story at the podcast this Sunday afternoon. 16k on Thursday. I listened to the Road to Gold Coast, and that was it was good to listen to a podcast series where someone didn't get injured in the build-up. So I was kind of confident that they were all going to race, which they did this weekend. So that will be out during the week. Friday, did a Gold Coast run. Didn't see Brad Croker on this one because he went south instead of north. I also did 10 by 30 second surges in there just as strides. Saturday we were running from here at the QT, 20 minutes. Jess got us a bit lost. She stuck to the roads, not the beach path at one stage there, Moose, which you would have been stoked about. And then 30K with Croaks. I actually thought this was harder than it was going to be. Maybe I'm not as fit as I thought I was. But, it was just good having Croaks out there doing his thing. He was the leader. I was just doing whatever he was next to it. My heart rate data, I think I averaged like 166 beats per minute. So I was probably...
161.
Yeah, but you're older. You can't get as high. It was a fun experience. I wouldn't say it was race effort, but it wasn't pleasant. Let's go for a tempo stroll through. The most common, how many times do people yell, "Yeah, the girls"? That's probably been on trend for 2 years, but I only know it now.
You wanted more cheering for you?
No, I didn't want them cheering
This
for
was
us.
the lead women's pack.
I reckon I heard that 200 times. So maybe just a variety of like different female specific calls next year. But anyway, it was good vibes. I ran 133K for the week. That's my weekly recap. I'll see you in 2 weeks at Bundoora Moose. We'll go head to head.
Yeah, what are you, top 5?
Not top 5. I think I need 9 infusion. Today didn't feel that good.
Please.
We'll see.
That is that's always the compliment.
When Chicago prep start?
Well, I didn't even know how many weeks Chicago was until you started talking about how many weeks Melbourne was.
So it's 14 today.
Yeah, okay. No, not this soon. We'll see what happens. Well, we've got to respect that and recover from that one. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce our next guest. It's going to be the first guest of the show. She's the Commonwealth Games gold medalist. She's prepping for her 3rd Olympics. She ran a PB and comes 2nd at the Gold Coast Half Marathon yesterday. Lululemon's biggest running ambassador, Jess Stenson. Welcome to the Inside Running Podcast. Thanks for being here, Jess. You've had a big couple of, not so much just 24 hours, but a big month in your world.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here. Last time I was pregnant with Ellie, and this year she's here with me. I actually worked out yesterday before the race. My last race in Australia was the 10K here a year earlier.
That's all right. You and Eloise Wellings, I reckon, jogged along, was it?
Oh, no, that was when I was
before?
pregnant with Billy and she was pregnant with Sunny. Last year it was just sort of on my own with Ellie, yeah.
Yeah. Must be stoked with how things went yesterday. You're also about to fly out to Europe tonight as well for your altitude training camp.
We are, yes. I was happy with the result yesterday. Knowing that it was a strong field, I decided to go in it and just race rather than look at my watch. So I actually never looked at the splits. The first half, it was a bit tricky to work out the effort because there was obviously a bit of a tailwind early on and then a headwind later on, but there was Sarah and Leanne, and we were ticking along, and I felt strong. I wasn't sure how it would feel because I've got heavy legs at the moment from the marathon training, and it was at about 12K once we turned around into the headwind. At that point, Leanne and I just said, look, let's try and fight this wind together. So we were taking in turns of leading and eventually got up to a pack, and Leanne sort of headed off with the pack, and I just hung in there on my own, and it got pretty tough towards the end, but I was really happy that I came away with a PB from it.
Jess, when you race after a selection, is there that added pressure of almost trying to justify the selection? Because we know all the drama that's gone on, and there'll be a lot of eyes on you and other girls as to how they perform. Even before the Olympics, there'll be some people that will try to throw stones at your performances. So did you feel that you need to put something big on the board?
I guess no external pressure would be as high as the internal pressure. Like I really want it. To me, the half marathon distance is just one I don't feel like I've mastered. So I felt probably more pressure because when I did this event 2 years earlier, it was a really tough experience. I had a lot of breathing difficulties and sort of went into survival mode to get to the finish line. So I think it was really good for me to practice that pre-race routine and to probably just step out of it and think, what do I want from this? Why do I run? It helps me to develop strategies to deal with pressure because going into an Olympic race, there will be pressure. And so I got to practice everything, handling, those thoughts of what's happening on the outside. And to me, I find I can just bring it back to why am I doing this? What am I trying to get out of it? And I'm able to sort of block that out. And it was nice to get through yesterday feeling like I achieved that.
Are you happy with the prep, how it's been going so far, and what are your plans between now and Paris? So the prep so far, because the Paris course
It's an interesting elevation profile, actually. It follows the river. It's quite flat at 15 k's. You start to go up a long, steady hill, flattens out for a little bit, then you get a really sharp hill. You come gradually down another sharp hill, and then you belt down that entire hill for a couple of kilometres. So to prepare for that, I think altitude training is really important. I find that helps my ability to run hills. So we're off to St. Moritz. The heat component, it could be between 25, maybe up to 30 degrees at the hottest point of the day when we're running. And so I've been doing some heat and humidity chamber sessions, some sauna sessions, because I did run in the Birmingham Games a couple of years ago, which was, it actually, the elevation is going to be higher in Paris than it was in the Commonwealth Games, and it's also distributed differently. It's all in the middle of the course rather than the final few Ks, but I am utilising the information I gained from my prep for the Com Games to prepare for this one. And so far, it's going well. I've just got to keep strong and healthy and get to that start line and execute my plan.
Sorry, Brad, just follow up on that with the Paris course. Like most people, when they're preparing for a marathon, often you have one of those tough variables. So either you're training for a hilly marathon or you're training for a hot marathon. And so combining those two together, are you finding it difficult? Like I'd imagine it'd be quite easy to overcook it, trying to train for heat, trying to train for hills. And so how are you balancing it to not overdo either?
Yeah, we put a plan in place. So my coach, Adam, and the exercise physiologist and my sports dietitian that tried to factor in the demands of parenthood, like having a baby and some of the feeding demands on my body as well, the heat, the hills, and trying to put together a plan that will not overcook anything, because there are high energy demands in all of those aspects, and I'm really happy with the plan, but I'm constantly checking feedback from, Garmin, Oura Ring data, communicating with Adam, and I feel like my husband Dylan's really good as well. He can tell when I'm on the brink of doing too much, and he's always the first one to pull me back and say, I think it's probably a good day to cross-train, and just having that reinforcement as well. I think I've really learnt to just, if I'm questioning whether I should be doing that second run for the day, it's probably enough to just say don't do it. So it's about listening to my body, which I think this will be my 17th marathon, so I have had a lot of experience now to draw upon for that.
Jess, have you got goals for Paris, like 22nd at Rio, 38th at London, third time around? Like, is there a position that you kind of got in the back of your head? I know you might give me the answer, like it's all about the process, and where the process gets me, that's kind of the outcome. But like, and I know Adam's very meticulous in his planning, and he, like, a lot of credit for him with the course study, I think, at Birmingham. Like, he'll know this course back to front, and the weather and all the nerdy stuff behind the scenes must give you a lot of confidence to finish as high as possible at Paris.
Yeah, I think at this stage in my life, it's just like make the most of every opportunity, have a crack. I went into the London Olympics, it was my second marathon, and I was thinking learn as much as I could, soak up as much from the experience. I got to enjoy the opening ceremony. The village was overwhelming, and I was just all eyes. Rio 4 years later, I had a bone stress injury in my second metatarsal, which made preparation really difficult. It was a lot of Alter G sessions, even leading right up to the race. So I went into that knowing that conquering the distance itself was going to be a big challenge. And then this time around, I think the course and conditions present a really exciting opportunity for the Australian runners, because tactics will come into play, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to really work with the other Aussie girls, Sinead and Jen, to just put ourselves up there and go for the top 10. I think if we can work together as a team on this course, it's going to get the best out of us all, and so that's what I'm dreaming about. Obviously, I've got to get to the start line fit, strong and healthy, but I want to get out there and have a real crack.
I'm not sure how much time we have left, Brady, but I was going to ask about how you work as a team when you beating those girls, although you all run for Australia. It's so much more beneficial for you to be the highest placed Australian, I think. At what point does the team element end?
Yeah, I mean, if I think to, say, New York or Birmingham, both of those marathons, so in New York, Elsie and I were sort of out there chatting away when the pace got a bit hot. We were like, no, we're going to pull back here. It's a really hot day. And then there was a hill that we both hit, and at that point we separated, and it was just like we never saw each other again. So that got us to 15 Ks working together. The Birmingham Games, I think it was about 30 Ks we separated, but just having each other's presence. And there were points in Birmingham where suddenly the pace just stalled, and we were like, are we going to go? And like, yep, keep pushing the pace. And we just would rotate to block the wind. And obviously if some drama happens with nutrition, you're all around to help each other. So I think similarly in Paris, I'd imagine that team cohesion begins, well, now, and then we get into Montpellier together in southern France, and we'll be running together. We'll start talking about the race, and then in the village when you're doing your bottles and getting ready, just that sense that we're in this together. It's about getting to the start line feeling united, and there's a real powerful effect in that alone. And then once the gun fires, I think if you can have those little conversations, it's really calming in the marathon. Just having allies around you, I think the race will be on when we do just naturally start to separate. But if we can stick together for as long as we're all feeling good together, that'll be beneficial.
Have you spoken to the other girls? Like, given there was some controversy with the selection, I feel like there's more eyes on you and the other girls, maybe this Olympic marathon compared to others in terms of like performing, and there's people in different camps. Do you feel more pressure this Olympics compared to the other two, given
look, it was a really tough time the last couple of months, and sport teaches resilience, and certainly that experience taught resilience, and it really makes you reflect on your own values and why you're in this in the first place. And if I was going to make this Olympic team, my goal was always going to be to just see what's possible and dream big. So as I said, the most pressure will come from myself, and at the end of the day, the person influenced by your result the most impacted is yourself. So you just have to keep remembering, like, there are people who have been a part of the process with you, and I'm wanting to do it for them. And the extra noise, you really do just have to try and let it just slide by, and the last few months have taught me that, and you just keep on bringing it back to why you do this, who matters most, what your priorities are. So as tough as the experience was, I think it just brought me back to why I run, and it's almost potentially taught me some resilience that will help me going forward in races.
Jess, in 4 years' time, what would you like to see change with the whole potential process to avoid, these are my words, a shit show that it has been over the last month, and like maybe make it more transparent, or have a trial, or are you like, hey, it's all like, it's worked well in your favour in this situation? Are you all for the same process to continue? Or if you could offer suggestions for how we pick where are we going next? LA marathon team. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, trial seems like a logical option, but then you see what's happened with the American trials, and some brilliant athletes have missed out as a result. So every process has its downfalls. I think certainly the selection criteria, I think, does need to be tight to an extent, so that people people know what they need to do to put themselves in the best position for selection. And then on the other side of the selection, it would be good if some clear reasons could just be put out in the public, which in this case it wasn't. Reasons were provided to the athletes, but they weren't made public. And I don't know the reason for that, whether it is because obviously the rest of the team's about to be announced, and maybe different events are treated a bit differently, and so it could be harmful to put out reasons and then have different reasons for another event. That's just speculation. I'm not sure, but I think to avoid what has happened, probably just putting out a few points publicly might have helped. Do you feel like it would have helped?
Yeah. Have you commented at all about what the reasons you were given were? Can we ask you that question? This is where
I'm not sure if it's public now, but I understand it was a bit to do with major championship history. So looking at a lot of the girls have... So once you run the time, we were all under the impression that then discretion is applied for the team to be selected, and we had no idea how the discretion would be used. And we were told that championship history was a big part of it, so that being World Championships and Olympic history. Basically, the top point in the criteria is the athlete's ability to finish, they're wanting to pick a team where the athletes are likely to finish in the top 8 or on the podium. So looking at who's come closest to achieving that in the past, and then basically every athlete had run a PB, I think, in the last 12 months. So they're kind of assuming current form and then saying, well, if you've placed 9th or 10th or whatever in the past, then we're hoping you'll be able to replicate that again in Paris. So when you ask about what your goals are, that's what we've got to shoot for, because that's what we were selected to do.
Just change track a little bit here. I've noticed a lot lately there's been a bit of a viral type quote or philosophy theory that is, women are not small men. And I know you've done some coaching in the past, and you're a physio, you run with other females. What do you think of that? Do you think females should be coached differently to men?
Yeah, and I think they are these days. Like, I think we're starting to see women improving dramatically. Obviously, the first time the marathon was in the Olympics for women was 1984, which is relatively more recent than the men have been running marathons. I think just we're seeing women learning how to train their bodies, and there are different approaches. Some coaches sort of really tune into the athletes' hormonal cycles and that sort of thing. We're seeing more and more women coming back from having babies, and we're still learning a lot in that space. But I think traditionally probably women were treated like small men, but I think more and more now we're starting to see training being a bit more individualised, and there are a lot of women's health specialists out there, just from strength and conditioning through to training approaches. And I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing dramatic improvements in times and performances, but also more women interested in the sport because they're learning how to train their bodies better.
Yeah, so just as an example, do you know of any elite women who train their body using their cycle, like their hormonal cycle? And